Destiny Gundam. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs 2Bs from gundam.tk and YouTube, and thanks for being here. It's the Master Grade Destiny Gundam. Here we have the Extreme Blast mode, which means when we look at the parts, you're going to see a whole bunch of extras that you won't be getting with just the regular Destiny. And in case the Gundam, the shield, the backpack, the figures, the large figures, the weapons, the effect parts, the base aren't enough, how about some Wings of Light in shiny metallic looking pink? To kick things off with the leg, where you're going to see a lot of chrome, and that's because unlike Strike Freedom, where they made a special plate just for the chrome parts, and especially they were visible in the backpack, here you're going to have a lot more main body plates because the K plate is a big one, and all the major joints are going to come across as very silver. Starting with the bottom of the feet, you're going to have mobility like this. You'll notice that it's on a double ankle joint, or ball joint there. It's going to move like that. You'll see a piston slide up and down as well. And the knee and thigh joint is impressive for anybody who's seen Strike Freedom or Infinite Justice, or just as impressive. You'll notice that that bends down, spreads up. That's regular silver there. Here you've got the shiny silver, and you may notice at some part of this bend just how ugly, though, the chrome parts can be when you're cutting them off. So if you either fix that up with a little bit of silver paint or just cut it very carefully. And these hips may be a problem once we actually combine them to the waist. So here it is, and it's looking pretty good. You've got the side skirts, which have some good color there, good deep channels if you want to add some lining. Nothing too fancy here on the back. But first of all, these front skirts can pop off very easily. This isn't fixed on there very well. But the actual mechanism down here is designed for you to be able to pull out these legs. And you'll notice that right now when it's in its down position, that should be locked and they shouldn't move. But once I do that, you'll notice that the skirt falls off. And if you open that up, then these legs become free to move in and out. Now, you should be able to lock them into place, but what happens is, in reality, even though it may work here, once you actually put the legs on, it doesn't work very well, and these things are going to end up being moving in and out, even when you're just trying to move them normally. This, I'm not a fan of. First of all, you're going to have a bend mechanism in here, which if you unlock this panel at the back, first of all, it's going to rotate off to the side, but open up this panel, and then what that allows you to do is to bend the back all the way back, which I'm sure you can use for some pretty dynamic poses. But when you put it in, if you actually lock it in place, then that's not going to move too much, although it does have more give than you'd think. It's the shoulders that are the real winner, though. First of all, they are going to pop open at the top. You may notice there, so you're able to bring the shoulders all the way forward, and the fact that they're chromed. Big bonuses, a big plus up on the Strike Freedom, although it would have been nice if those were chromed as well. And then we have a familiar looking docking mechanism here on the back. And I guess that's the final proof that these two, Kira and Shin, are not compatible at all. Unless you're watching the 4th episode of the special edition right at the very end. Moving on to the shoulders / weapons. Here we've got some shiny chrome there on the inside. Pretty simple assembly here. You're just going to have some blue parts on the outside. The boomerang can actually be a little bit tricky to pull out. But anyway, it should stay in there, and it does very well. For the arms, simple and effective, something that's always good in a Master Grade. You've got the shoulder, which is going to rotate this part up and down, not chromed, and you'll notice that the inside and outside of the elbow are chromed, but like Strike Freedom, you're still going to see those little bit of ugly elbows, but I don't notice it as much with the silver as I do with the gold. Here you're going to have this armor here, which is going to have an attachment for the shield. The manipulators are going to move down there, nothing fancy for the wrists. 3-finger trigger finger split there, and this part, you can actually pop open and then take this beam shield and just slide it over top and lock it down into place. Looking at the head, and if you'll excuse the thick lining, sort of Dalong-like, even though that guy's amazing, you are going to see some of the best parts of the Destiny Gundam here. First of all, if you put in a little bit $2 lining marker, put that line down there, a little bit thinner might do better, but the red parts, those aren't painted, unlike something like the Master Grade Crossbone X1. That's actually red parts underneath the silver. And the other bonus for me is that these are silver chrome parts here for the Vulcans, and they're actually going to protrude a little bit, which just adds to the bling effect. The eyes look good, the writing on the red jewel looks great up there, and the huge oversized V-fin when he's looking down and crying. I think he's one of the most impressive looking Gundams there is. A wider angle here for the backpack, which is going to look very... I don't know why, but the Destiny seems a little bit plain until they're actually deployed. But of course you're going to have the main colors of the black, the red, and the blue, and everything works there. In terms of the red parts, what you're able to do is pop them out like this, and then you're able to rotate them this way and this way, although it does seem to want to fight it that way, and it can get in the way of these weapon packs, so you'll have to pop them out of the way if you want to slide them all the way back, and they're not going to go all the way back like Strike Freedom can. But in terms of movement, you'll notice that you've got some chromed parts up there, and then when you open them up, you'll notice that that third one is going to come out at the bottom, and all of a sudden you've got little details like these gray parts, and this is looking much more like the Destiny we all know. To the back, where you're going to have a movable thruster there, and the weapon holders are going to be pretty movable like this, which is going to come into play for the rifle more than the sword, but you can have it in there, and the slide mechanism works pretty well. As you can see with just how easily that slides in, and outside of the extension part, that's in there very securely. To the least spectacular weapon, the beam rifle, which actually clamps on here to the back of the waist section, which is again losing that skirt armor. But don't expect a lot of color here. You're going to have a moving part down here and a little bit of red in there and a lighter gray, but outside of that, completely unremarkable. Destiny can also have two shields, but if you want to go for the old school one, and I'm a big fan of Force Impulse, especially when it's got the edges pulled out. But when you've got this, you've got the yellow parts on there, the gray and the darker gray, and when you open it up, you get the red. Just sort of looks very Gundamish, and I think that this is something that I'm going to use more often than this one. On to the big guns or swords here. You've already seen that this can slide in and out. The bend mechanism, you can slide this forward. It's got a nice bend down here. You're just going to have to maneuver it into position, but that's very easy. I like the fact that you're going to get different colors of light purple and the gray here, so you've got some good offset. And if you swing out this bottom part here, you can then plug this part in one way only, and all of a sudden you're going to have the beam, the purple, and the gray, which I think is a fantastic effect, and something that Freedom never wants to see again. And flip them both out to make it look even more old school. Don't think that the sword is going to get all the glory though, because for this, you can bring that open again, and you're just going to have gray at the end. It would have been nice if they had added a little bit of color. You've got some red there, which shows up, but it's the handle here that's the impressive part. When you open this up, and then you rotate it, if you take a look there, let me just bring this around, you're going to notice that the bottom part and the top part pops up for a scope, and it just becomes a much fuller and impressive looking weapon. And with the backpack, you'll notice that this just is in a down position, and then this comes down 90 degrees. Put this forward, and all of a sudden you've got Shin looking very angry and sort of Luna Maria Zaku warrior-ish. With that, pop this part out, and you've got this weapon as pimped out as it's going to get. For the boomerangs, you're going to want to be careful that these don't get stuck inside the shoulders when you're pulling them out. But once you've done that, you can actually take these parts and put this either way. These are the short ones, and something they suggest is putting this in warm water or a little bit hot water and bending it into an arc-like motion. Here's the difference in length between the long ones and the short ones, and you get two of each. Since you can't plasticize speed lines, you might as well do the next best thing, and if you want to throw the boomerangs, what you can do is pop this wrist forward and plug in the manipulator. You just put this down below, which doesn't fill me with confidence, although I'm hoping that the wrist will pinch it down there. Just the fact that it's underneath, gravity doesn't like that. But over here you've got the opposite, because you've got a round peg, which doesn't look great, but that sticks up into there so that you can rotate this around to whatever angle you want, and I actually think the effect can be pretty cool. The Palm Fiocchino mechanism works in a similar way for the effect parts. You're just going to plug this in underneath. Again, hopefully that pinches in. Shouldn't be too many weight issues with that. And if you want to go melee style, it looks like that, but my only disappointment is that you sort of lose the fingers. From the side you're going to see it, but from the front or this way, well, not so much. And if you wanted to have this actually shooting out, you've got this long part here, which is going to plug in. Looks like one way only. And then you have something that looks a little bit ridiculous, to be honest. The base is a lot more interesting than a regular action base. The only thing is, it's got that extra height, and just be careful, I've already broken that off. So you can attach that in there, and then it will sit up at the top, but for the mechanisms here, you'll notice that this is on a screw, so you'll need a driver to move that too much. And here you've got a three position, so that you can put this in either like this, or like that. And probably the only one you're ever going to use is that. To attach the backpack, you're going to notice that it just rests in there just perfectly. The only problem is that it feels very loose, so without the weight of the Gundam pulling it down, and if you do anything other than straight, I don't think it's going to work too well here. The big seller for me, though, is going to be these big pink wings, which, just to give you an idea of the height here, look at that, they're just massive. They extend twice as high as a regular master grade, which is impressive right there. When you put these parts on, you're going to put on 2 attachments, 2 pieces there to pinch them on side, and then when you actually take the wings, you'll notice that they're perfectly lined up. There's a left and right side, and you plug those in. I don't know how securely they're going to go until we actually get it mounted, but so far, the red with these mirror finish and the rainbow, winner so far. Then in terms of the larger figures, for clear figures, they're really good, but some of those pro painters, if you're one of them, why don't you let me know with a comment down below, are these harder to paint than something that's made out of a different material? And here we have a much smaller Shin and Stella. Here's an idea of the size comparison. Simply put, so many parts, so many weapons, so many features and gimmicks. If they all go together really well, I'm going to be very impressed with this, but that may be a tall order. Anyway, everybody, Robert184 Gundam.tk, thanks for watching, see you with lots more to come. So, looks like you got a special version too. Congratulations on that.